Hunter, don't abandon me just yet. Okay, how do I like just show me what is this for?
So
Nothing?
that's to no, it's to yes, no, actually, it just goes through the slides.
I was gonna say, tell me how to get through the slides the easiest. Because we're gonna go kind of quickly through some of the first.
Up and down.
Oh, okay. So we're just gonna go like this. Okay, got it. Yay. Okay, I love it when things work.
Yes.
Okay, so good. Okay, well, so let me really quick. Is that for those in person? I know Lucas. Okay, April Ramsey. Okay, tell me a little bit about you just real quick, because I don't think I've met you.
Yeah, like I joined that very end of November, so I've been here really December.
Okay, are you new to real estate? You know what? I actually joined when I joined KW. It was like I think a week before Christmas. So yeah, I mean, I get that.
It's not the worst time, but like
yes,
nothing was happening with like Ignite and everything. So
okay. So are you new to real estate, or have you done?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so what's a little bit of your background?
Mom.
Okay.
Wife.
And you just said, I'm going to do real estate.
Yeah, I mean, I've done
Boom.
plenty of other things. But,
yes.
Like we moved to Utah Valley like 6 months ago.
Okay.
And so then I was like, okay. And my kids are just a little bit older now. They're all in high school. They don't need me as much. So I just am like, I need something for myself. What do I want to do? It's not just a job. Because I mean, I've done jobs, right, which is great, but I want to do something like that's more like that I want to do.
Yes.
Long term. Not that I haven't enjoyed my other jobs too, but like, so this is just something for me that I can feel like more fulfilled, something that
good.
And that I don't like feel like I have all the flexibility to be able to still do my mom stuff when I need to, but then I can build something for myself. Well,
good. Well, welcome. Welcome. And it looks like we have some other people on there that I don't know as well, but Connor and Melissa and anybody else will get to know you at some point. So hopefully in the office we'll get to meet you. So anyway, I'll just kind of tell you kind of a little bit of background. Hopefully I can get my little glasses on so I can see. We're going to fly through part of these because there's a lot of these slides that I think a lot of you are going to know. And then I'd rather open it up a little bit to Q&A also, just so that, you know, if you have questions or anything, then ask me. So it's funny, I taught a class a few weeks ago on making and receiving offers, but I'm going to tell you what's funny about this one is that growing my database, this is something that I'm going to split into kind of a two-part discussion. So there's the actual technical part of database. That is the worst thing for me to probably teach on, okay? Because I am not strongly technical and I don't really that's my goal of the year is to really pump what I like to refer to as not a database, but a data bank. Because it's really your bank. It's your data ATM. It's like you put a little time and service and money into it, and you're going to be able to just push some buttons and have a return from it. So there's actual stats on it too, if you're actually working your database. And I tried to find them this morning. I couldn't find them. But I was at a meeting with Gary Keller, and he talks about there's a ratio. So they know that if you're contacting so many people, then they know that a certain percent will convert over. So this is also a numbers game. So in that aspect, I think they talk about 3%, but in my situation, it's actually, I think, been a little bit higher. I think it depends on how you're contacting them, if you have a personal connection with them, or if it's somebody that, if it's just somebody maybe you met and you've put them in your system, right? So I think it also depends on the level. So I do a lot of tagging. And like I said, my goal for the year is actually to use my data bank better. And kind of more on a technical perspective. So like I have certain lists already divided. Like what I've done is I have like a tag where it's called VIP. And those are people that have, either used me for more than one transaction, or they've also sent me business, because I have like probably 2 in my VIP list that if I stay in contact with them, they will send me a referral about every 3 months. Just a friend or somebody that yep. And the other thing that I want to really stress about um, using your referrals, and the other reason I said we're going to talk about kind of that, data bank perspective, but the main thing that I think I can help you with value on is probably not on the tech side, but I think it's on how to grow your SOI and how to grow your sphere of influence. And also, when we say instead of database, I would just say just your people, your sphere, because that's something that I'm probably very good at. And that's where I really probably shine. Like I said, we'll have Hunter talk to you more about the database part or someone else. But I really, that's my business. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background since I don't really know you, but Lucas has probably heard a little bit. I became an investor early days of Airbnb, actually about 15 years ago. I've always been around real estate. So let me jump back. My dad was a broker, and I was that crazy, weird 8-year-old that wanted to go to open houses. I guess I don't think I knew that people didn't really do that, So I would always volunteer to go with them to these open houses. And back then they had these printed magazines for the MLS. So it would be like, it was like, it looked like a little magazine and it would say, okay, this 3-bedroom home. It was black and white.
Highlighted colored pages.
Yes, exactly. So there you'd have to pay extra to have a little bit of color. And even back in the day, I think it was almost like newspaper, And so I would go through those. And I remember at age 8 or 10, I would ask my dad, I would say, why does that 3-bedroom home, why is that one more expensive than that one that has the same number of bedrooms and bathrooms? So like I said, I was kind of a weird 8-year-old, I guess. I don't know. But I've always loved real estate. And my whole life, I just had a back way to get into real estate. So kind of did that. Then went to college, graduated. I thought I would always teach ESL. I speak Spanish and I taught ESL for a little while. Then I thought, oh, that's my path because I do love that. Then got married, had kids. I started a different business, kind of it fell into my lap, and I did some consulting for some top 500 companies like LexisNexis, Thomson Reuters. I was involved with the early days of cell phones. That's another whole discussion, but I could write a book about all of the very interesting project I worked on because it was about like the app store and games and before all of that was a thing. And so anyway, worked on some really early days of technology on mobile, and then was able to do that from home, which was nice. I'd get up at like 4 a.m. and work. It was a little bit rough, but yes. And so I did that. I loved that. And then I got into politics in a really strange way because there was a big development going in. And I basically kind of came into politics we just started fighting the city and a developer on this project that was going in. Next thing I knew, we were on the news, we were in the newspapers, and we fought them for about a year and a half. We came to a settlement. I always joke around and I say, when nobody's happy, that probably is, okay, enough, right? So nobody really won, but I think it was an interesting experience. I got to know a lot about zoning, really crazy things. And I remember actually at one point saying to my husband, when am I ever going to use all of this information I have in my head about zoning, or just really crazy, weird things. So meanwhile, I've always been pretty real estate savvy. Like I knew when to move. I've liked construction. I was building a house. My builder went bankrupt and I was pregnant and I had a 2-year-old, and I ended up having to general the rest of the house out myself. And I had no idea what I was doing. So I did that. So I got into construction. So I was in construction and politics a little bit. And then eventually I was the governor's campaign manager. So for Governor Herbert, worked for him for 2 election cycles. A lot of the politicians are still some of my clients, and I still work a lot in policy. So I serve on the board of Snow College, Utah Women in Leadership Project. I love doing a lot of work like that as well. And so I always say, just serve your community. That's a huge, huge thing. So I'm still very dialed in to a lot of that. And then I never got my license, which was really funny. I bought these Airbnb properties early on when people were like, what's an Airbnb? Bought that about 15 years ago, got into Airbnbs, and then I started helping my friends do everything with their Airbnbs, and their realtors were like, we don't know anything about Airbnb. So I was helping them. I ended up after that, I was actually working for the governor's last campaign, and he looked at me and was like, Heather, why are you not doing real estate? I'm like, I don't know. I probably should be. So I was, yeah, so I was my first victim, is what I call it. So I decided to sell my own house. So I got my license and literally got my license, did everything wrong. So first, also thank yourself for being here because you made a really good decision. I started at a flat fee brokerage. I said, I'm only going to do this part time. And I did, like I said, kind of everything wrong. So got into a flat fee brokerage. There's like no training, no help. I was like, what am I doing? I have no idea. But I had a lot of contacts, and so people still called me. And because I had worked on really random things like conservation easements, I would have people call me and say, hey, we want you to list our house because we know that you know about the zoning of this property in back of me. And I'm like, okay, I know about that from the political aspect, but I don't really like, I'm new to real estate, you know? So, anyway, I ended up kind of working in that. And like I said, I kind of did everything wrong. I was, but at the same time, I did some things right. So give yourself a pat on the back. I just wish I would have had more training. So, like I said, you're all smart to be here because I mean, this would have changed the trajectory of my business and my life at an earlier point. But I ended up staying at a flat fee brokerage model for about 3 years. I went to two different ones. And then I went to a different one, and it was kind of like a step up. They had ongoing franchise fees, though. So I spent about $40,000 probably in 1 year in between franchise fees and splits and everything. And then Jen Jurgensen, who's actually in our office, is a friend of mine, and she was like, you should come to KW. And so anyway, the rest is history. I ended up coming here about 3 years ago. When I came here, I could already feel my business surging, and I knew I needed help. And when I went to my former broker, I said, I need help. I feel my business is going to double this year, and I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know, like, and I'm not ready for it. I don't know who to hire. I don't know the first thing. Right. And I remember his answer. He just kind of looked at me and he said, oh, I guess you'll figure it out. And I was like, okay. And that was kind of the final straw for me because I was like, I need more, and I need somebody to tell me what to do and how to handle this. And so anyway, I ended up coming over to KW. I cried I'm not a crier. I cried in the team leader's office probably 5 times in my first meeting. I'm totally embarrassed to even tell you that, but because I was so overwhelmed and I didn't know what to do. And he was asking me all these things like, what's your GCI? I was like, what's GCI? I don't even know what that acronym is. And I hadn't been tracking my numbers. I just didn't have a lot of organization or any thought to what, I was just kind of surviving doing real estate is what I say. And then, they just basically helped me offload stuff. I remember they got a transaction coordinator. They just put me in the same room with her and they said, she's going to help you with all the back end stuff. Then I cried again. That's a true story. I cried again. I was like, you're going, yes, I was like, you're going to help me. I'm so happy. And I did. And because she even just having a TC, I ended up tripling my business the next year. So just having that TC was enough to offload for me. And the reason I want to tell you that is because you need to look for those opportunities to have that help and really embrace the TC model because they know how to write the paperwork. There were many times when I was a new agent at that flat fee brokerage that I was crying because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have anyone to talk with about this. And it's hard. And I used to be a paralegal also, so I'm pretty good with contracts. But even with that background, it was really hard for me because it was like, am I writing this right? And we all want to serve our clients well. And so it's scary when you're new. So don't be afraid to ask. If you're even doubting and you think this may sound like a dumb question, you better ask it still because find somebody in the office that you can ask that to. And I remember when I came to KW, the big thing that I tell people is that it was the first time I felt like I didn't work for them. I wasn't the cog in the wheel for them, but they were there to help and support me make my business dreams and become a reality. And so it was the first time they kept asking me, they'd say, well, how can we help you? I had never had that experience prior to coming here. And so anyway, I tripled my production. Done pretty well still the last few years, since I do a lot with Airbnbs. Probably about a third of my business is usually short-term rental or luxury vacation homes. I do a lot of luxury also. That's kind of the markets that are crushed during this time. So it was interesting as I went over my numbers over the last 2 years, 3 years. The first year I was here, I did about a third, actually about over 40% were short-term rentals or luxury second homes for people, because I also serve St. George. So I've had homes in St. George for 15 years. And so when I looked at that, that was interesting. So when I went to the next year, so that would be 2022, I realized that was kind of when the market fell apart, right? With interest rates, like halfway through. So my first half of the year was great. And then it kind of fell apart kind of late summer, right? And I had to make a shift. And the reason I'm going to tie this into this class is because the power comes in sensing the shifts and being ahead of the curve. Because if you do not sense those shifts and you're not ahead of those curves, you're the one that's going to lose out on business. Because people, when the market shifted, there were a lot of people, I call it, they were like in mourning, right? They were like talking about the glory days. They were like, I want to wait around. So even realtors were in that, but like there were the clients and the realtors that, I say they were in the mourning stage. They were like, I want to go back to the days of 2.75. And so yes.
Coming into this, I feel the same way about it. Like so many realtors are like, it's such a bad time to.
It is never a bad time. Never.
And I hear people say like, well, if you really care about your client, then you wouldn't suggest buying, selling right now. And I'm just like,
anybody who says that is wrong.
Wait, like, are you ever going to be like, I don't want to own real estate? I should rent forever. I should not.
Here's the thing. If you try to time the market and you wait around forever, and I also share this story a little bit. I had a friend who, she was a renter because she was always waiting for the lowest part in the market. She rented for 14 years and she kept saying, I want to wait until I can have more money down. And so she was so proud of herself because she saved up $200,000 in 14 years. Now, if she would have bought the house, even before I was a licensed realtor, I had found her house because I'm weird like that, right? And I had found this house and I said, Shauna, you need to buy this house. It was $220,000. Okay, I'm just giving you for reference. Northeast Lehigh, 220,000, 4,500 square feet. Think about what that is worth today, right now. Northeast Lehigh, 4,500 square feet. They are literally between 8 to $1 million. Okay. So she was so proud of herself but that was the house I literally found for her. I had called my friend who was a realtor. We walked it a few times. This was several years ago. She didn't buy it. Then she waited. Even during the meltdown, the economic meltdown, she didn't buy then. She was like, I'm just going to wait. I want to save more money. She had listened to one of these popular people that, has a podcast. Yes. And basically said, but I want to have more money. It'll be so much better. And I said, the game has changed. And I said, every time you're saving up your money, and this is what I also want you to remember, what I love talking to my clients about is I love it now when they're like these cash ones that they're older. I actually show them how putting $1 million in the bank, they lost 8% because of inflation. So I actually show that too. And I say, do you want to, what is your plan with that $1 million? Is it to grow it or shrink it? And that's the question I ask them. If it's to grow it, I can show you a million ways how to grow that $1 million. But if not, if not, you're literally going to leave that money in the bank. You're going to price yourself out of the market and into whatever home you want to buy. And you're literally losing 8% into oblivion. It's not even going to any kind of special thing. Hello.
About interest rates, like if you really look at interest rates,
historically,
long ago they were intense.
My first house I bought
was a long time ago. For me, that was not
long
ago.
My first house I bought was at 8%. And I remember my parents thought I had won like the lottery. Yeah. Like they were like, you're getting an 8% loan. And we all thought we were winning the lottery.
Oh, we're in sevens right now, some sixes.
Yes.
People are like,
and with buy downs,
it's so high right now. And I'm just like, compared to 3 years ago. But if you really look at like 20 years ago, it's not that high. Like you have to keep.
There's a good graph on that too, that if you can get into the quarter, it's there were some slides that you should go and dive into. That inside in the slides, it was from Johnny's market update. There's one that shows interest rates over time. And if not, ask somebody like in the office, like Hunter, I'm sure he knows exactly the one I'm talking about. It shows you the snapshot of what interest rates look like over time. Here's the thing. When you're buying a house, that is riskier than a car, okay? So look at what you're also paying right now on a car payment. Right now, interest rates are high. Interest rates on a house are equal or less. So it's really not that bad. Plus, like I said, you just have to explain it. And anyone who says that now is a bad time to get into the market, or if they say, oh, you shouldn't buy right now, they are wrong. And every time, what I tell people,
that poor experience and I'm inexperienced, I'm just like,
no, I find deals. I'm going to tell you guys a secret right now, all of you. Okay. So, yes.
I know. And I said it was a good time. Yeah. And somebody else was like, no.
Absolutely not. This is the best time. I'm going to like shout this. This is the best time to buy real estate. And you know why? Because we are at market lows right now. And we're like this. We're just starting to come up. And so right now, do you want to know? I'm having a crazy January because I have gone through and called my clients and I said, if you don't buy right now, you're going to regret it by summer because you're going to be in multiple offer situations on some products like luxury and some other areas and lower price points. So right now, you're better to buy and plan on refinancing down the road. If you have to, what I do is I have them save out a little bit more cash and I say, put a lower down payment down, save out a little bit more cash to offset those payments. And especially if they're disciplined, then they get it. I literally will show them on a spreadsheet if they need to. And I'll say, look, your payment might be $800 more, right? Or let's just even say 1,000 just to make the math work really well. I'll say, okay, it's $1,000 more than you really love, right? But that means between now and June, that's $6,000. That house, because when they do cut interest rates, do you think that house is only going to go up $6,000 or is it going to go up more than 6,000? They all go, oh, it's going up more than $6,000. Well, then when is the best time to buy? Is it now or is it in 6 months when it could go to multiple offer and you're going to be expected to pay 30 grand more for that same house? I would much rather them do that. And like I said, if they're disciplined, if they're not disciplined, you can talk to the title company and even set up an escrow account to have them like take the money, put it in an escrow account and subsidize their payment. So there are ways to do this.
Like they're worried about the money.
Exactly. Then there's a million ways. There's buy downs, there's all sorts of things. But like I said, this is like, that is like the easiest problem for me to resolve because I can show them. I'm like, do you also think that your money is going to be worth more? Your cash, is it going to be worth more by summer or less? Less. Are you going to be paying more for that house by summer or less? They know they're going to be paying more. The Fed has already said, and this is where my political background, okay, I'm just going to give you, this is World According to Heather, not endorsed by KW. But here's the thing. I have worked in politics for a long time. And on either side, this happens. It's a presidential election year. They've already announced they're going to cut interest rates twice. Now, why do you think that is? It's supposed to be based on the jobs report, and yes, it is loosely, but there's all sorts of ways to interpret data. So if they've already announced we're going to get interest rates cut twice, again, better to buy now or later when we have low inventory, because for the last year and a half, a lot of the builders have not been building specs, right? Because it's too risky for them. They've been getting rid of. But guess what happened? Just yesterday, I sell more Ivory homes than anyone else in the state. I have a funny relationship with them, but they announced yesterday they're doing away with their loan incentives, most of them, like their buy downs. They'll do a little bit, but not the 3%. I mean, they were giving 3% of purchase price towards closing costs, towards buy down. I mean, that's why I had a crazy November. Decent. I mean, I still did a lot in December, but my January right now, I have done nothing but spend my time putting people on properties. Right now, I probably have put at least 4 people in the last week under contract. And I've also taken 2 or 3 listings because I know right now our market is surging. I feel it. I can tell you when I see it ahead of time, the reason I see it a little bit ahead of time is because I work luxury and because I work second homes. And as soon as people feel comfortable with the economy, when they're not comfortable with the economy, they stop looking for luxury, they stop looking for second homes and Airbnb type properties. I've had more calls in the last 3 weeks than I have in the last 18 months. I still always do a few Airbnbs and luxury and vacation homes, but my phone has been ringing off the hook nonstop, which tells me that that is the first market that we start to see this little surge in. I'll see that. And then it always trickles. The pattern that I see in my business is then my other market follows. So right now I am spending time fielding the phone calls with the luxury and Airbnb type property, second homes. But then what I'm also doing is I'm trying to get ahead of it, and I'm jumping right now to the regular market, people that I know have been sitting on the sidelines, and I'm like, we got to move and we got to throw you under contract and we got to find you a house right now, because I can tell you right now in 2 months, that is going to be problematic. So all of you should be spending time calling people and explaining to them why interest rates, like I said, they've already announced they're going to cut them. Like I said, it's presidential election year. I would be very surprised. Like I said, it's on both sides, not trying to be political there. I'm just saying reality on that.
Whoever wins,
it doesn't matter. Well, they need a big booming economy. They need a big booming economy. Yes.
That's something that I've struggled with just starting out.
Uh-huh. Yes.
I have like an investor right now, and it's like I don't know what to tell him, especially about the market right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a book you recommend or a video or just kind of
Here's what I would actually do. I would even team up right now. Angie, right, is in charge of kind of the new group. I would even kind of team up with her and have that conversation, have her give you those pointers, and even offer a split. I mean, I know this sounds funny, but I've done this before where if somebody's new and they're like, this thing is too big, I don't know how to handle it. They'll come to me and they'll say, hey, I want to partner with you on this. And I'll do it. Sometimes we just do a 50-50 split, or we'll just, do something. But
actually,
are you on kind of, okay, good. So you already have that. And so you have probably some mentors. I would have that conversation. And the reason is because, and here's the other key, and I cannot stress this enough. And I promise this is all related somewhat to the class, right? So, but I want to stress this to you. It really comes down to your confidence in the market. And if people sense that you're confident, they buy. My clients are buying right now because they're looking at me and they can feel that I'm looking them in the eyes and I'm like, this is the time to do this. And I truly believe, every market is a great market for different reasons, right? Even in multiple offer, some people think that's a great market. Between you and me, it's actually probably my least favorite market. Only because I don't like the idea of people paying more than possibly an appraised value, because I'm pretty practical and conservative with their money. And so multiple offer always makes me a little bit hedgy, right? I don't love that. Makes me busy, makes me a lot of money, but it's not my favorite. Right now, this is like the very best time. So you need to just be calling your people, and you need, if they can qualify, what I would be doing, this is how I would handle it, because I want to give you like in-depth stuff. Okay. I would literally call them, and I would either schedule an appointment, even just meet them at Meters for Coke or Starbucks or whatever. Just say, hey, we got to talk, because I got to talk to you about what's happening in the market. You meet them, you talk to them, you convey the confidence that this is the greatest time to buy, and you explain it to them. I don't care if it's on a pen, on a napkin at Starbucks. You explain to them why that $6,000 that they don't want to pay in interest, why that really doesn't matter. Because in the end,
you always can refi. That's the thing.
That's exactly.
Like, oh, interest rates are expected to drop, so you should wait for a drop. I'm like, okay, first of all, you don't know they're going to drop.
Okay.
Second of all, you can always refi.
100%, 100%. And that's the big thing I tell them.
How much the house
I say you're most likely going to refi by end of summer. Now, I can't tell for sure, but I can tell you when I'm thinking it's probably going to be, it's going to be summer or fall, pre-election. We're going to all be refinancing. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean, I personally don't think that we're going to ever see the days of the 2.75. In fact, if you ever go to the Security National office in here, I put in a skeleton and it says 2.75. And it's like, because those days are gone and dead. Okay. So what I tell them is, okay, if you were a bank, would you lend on a house at 2.75? Because that seems a little risky to me. Even when we hit 2.75, it made me highly uncomfortable, because I knew that was not sustainable. I was like, dang, I'm going to buy a few things for myself and get my clients on things at 2.75. But it is not sustainable, and it was a fluky thing. And I don't think we're going to see those days. I mean, and this is the big key. Okay, if you here, write this down too. Okay, this is what I tell people. The wealth I have earned, I own 10 properties. I have not made wealth over interest rates. I have made wealth over purchasing, and purchasing great things that make sense for short or long term. But my wealth growing has nothing to do with interest rates. Zero. Because sometimes I'll pick up a property because I know it's a good equity play. Sometimes I know there's a flip involved. Sometimes it's just location. Sometimes it's potential. I mean, there's many, many ways. Of course, it matters how much money you're spending out of pocket. So that is a variable, but it's a variable only. I would rather buy the correct product all day long, but my wealth has not grown or shrunk because of an interest rate. That is irrelevant. The only thing that has happened with interest rates is it will help me know what I'm going to refinance. And it also, like, if I look at my portfolio and I'm like, okay, like I have one that I think I have my highest interest rate right now. I have one property that I think is at, I think it's at probably 6.5%. And that one, I actually want to either pay off this year, because I think my production is going to be pretty high to where I could do that if I want, and if I want to just have passive income. That's another whole story, but you don't always have to pay it off. Or what I might do is I might throw like 50% cash on it, just so that it's like a money producing machine when I refinance. So I might, do that. But like I said, interest rates are something to look at, but they should never be a deal killer. Never. And like I said, for me, I thank you.
Class was a debate about it, and I was like,
I work with
like debating this. It doesn't even make sense.
I will tell you, the other thing I do for clients is there are people that buy on emotion, and there are people that buy on spreadsheet and data. And you better know which client you have. because some of them are very like it's irrelevant to them what they, basically they're like, I don't, they're like, I just want, like, this really happened to me just a few months ago, actually. I had one client, she came into a lot of money. Her husband sold a company and they have a gazillion dollars. And I showed her this home. It is a cash producing Airbnb that I even said, this is exactly what you need to do to just print money off of this. She's like, I don't know if I like the paint color. This is a true story. I said, Cindy, I have a painter. He will charge you $4,500 to paint this entire house. She's like, I know, I just don't know if I can get over the paint color. Cindy, this house is going up $100,000 in the next year. I know, I just don't know if I can deal with that. Okay, I luckily got past that, but she was an emotional buyer and she was somebody who visually, so what I had to do, walk her through, help her pick her paint color. This is a true story. Help her get the painter to come in and paint it. And that's what you do, right? She now loves it and she is doing very well with it. But like I said, she could not, it took her probably 2 weeks to get over the paint. I have no idea. It was very strange. But a lot of my other clients, most of my clients I work with are more investor type. They are spreadsheet. When you can show them on, like I said, a spreadsheet, I don't care if it's a napkin, but you draw out because people get hung up on $1,000 a month. They go, gee, that sounds like so much money. That's this. I'm like, okay, let's look at how fast. I just talked to another new client yesterday, even. And he was like, I think we might live in my parents' basement for another year so we can save up money. And that's when I'm like, no, that is the worst. I said, you will price yourself out of the market. We are getting you something in the next 2 weeks. And one thing about me, I really don't take no for an answer. I realize that's a problem and a bonus, right? But I just realize if they say no to me, it means not yet, or maybe I didn't explain it right, or maybe they just need to have it explained differently. So I just will continually explain until they get it. And then they're like, oh, that really makes sense. So anyway, but again, this is all kind of tied into, we're going to say growing your SOI, because what I want for you right now,
then you can build your SOI.
Exactly. What I really want for you right now, see, I think I timed out on this. Oh, maybe not. Okay. I'm going to tell you also one of the things I did. So your database, this is data bank. I'm going to flip through some of these really quickly because like I said, I'm not the expert on the database, but what I want to talk to you about is I'm an expert on people. And I've been in the people business for a long time. And that's what real estate is. You are in the business of solving somebody else's problems and helping them. And until I realized that, which really didn't happen until about 3 years ago, I truly do believe this. Like when people are like, oh, you're a real estate agent. I'm like, is that what I am? Like, I'm just somebody who solves people's problems. That is truly what I believe. It is what I do. And the vehicle by which I do it is real estate. But I can honestly say it's also other things. Because like with this Cindy, right, that I just told you about, I lined up the painter. I helped resolve all of the brain damage to make sure that she felt comfortable buying that house.
For the best decision for her.
For the best decision. And it wasn't for me. When I first got my license, I made a point of never looking at the BAC for a full year. So the first year, basically what you're getting paid, the agent commission, buyer agent commission. I never looked at that because I never wanted it to taint my decision on what home I recommended. Because I will tell you this, I once worked with, man, I have like weird, crazy stories, but I once worked with a FSBO, which is a for sale by owner, out in Vernal, Utah, and there were 13 siblings that were selling their parents' home for sale by owner, and they offered $2,000 commission. It was a flat fee, $2,000. And I knew it was the right property for my clients. And I drove out there like 3 times. I literally lost money on that deal. I put them on that home, but they knew that I did such a killer job for them And I had to negotiate. Imagine negotiating with 13 siblings that don't have a realtor. And by the way, and they're all emotionally involved because it was actually their grandparents' house and it's a historic home. Then it was their parents. It was the home they were born in. And they were all in like their 70s. Okay. It was quite a transaction. But what was really funny is the head sibling, I knew it was a win when at the end, his name was Blaine. He said, Heather, I've always been anti realtor. And he's like, you are the only realtor I would actually hire. And I actually stay in touch with him. This sounds funny. I actually send him a text once a year. And I just am like, Blaine, how's it going? You know, and we've stayed. And he's like, when I sell my home, I'm calling you. And his home is in Taylorsville. And so what's interesting from that project though that I did, because it never was about me, it was about getting them the right home. And it was the right home because they needed something that was a quasi commercial space right off the main road, was totally the right thing for them. I ended up listing the one person. So there were two business partners. I listed the one person's home for $1 million and he bought a $1.5 million home. I made commissions off both of those. The other one also bought 2 investment properties from me later. I did 4 deals off of that. One transaction that was a FISBO. And like I said, so if you have the long game in mind and you say, I'm in it not for me, but for you. And like I said, when I call people right now, they know it's not about my commission. Like the reason I'm calling them right now is because I'm telling them this is a public service announcement. The market is changing. You need to get ahead of it or you are in trouble and I want to help you. If you go in with that perspective, you will succeed. And like I said, there's nothing greater than helping people. When you have people crying at the table at closing, because I had another couple, sorry, I'm full of stories, but I had this one couple, they decided to serve an LDS mission. And a lot of these older couples, they'll sell their homes and then they price themselves out of the market because they put all their cash in the bank. Because no, it's like they kind of just feel like, oh, I'm just going to sell it because they don't want to put a renter in their house or whatever. I ended up, they'd already sold their home when I met them. And I said, you will price yourself out of this market. Because this was right before we hit multiple offer 3 years ago. And I said, your money is going to be worth less because you could already tell inflation was happening. And I said, you will price yourself out of the market and your cash that they had $1 million in the bank. I said, you will price yourself out. Also, as far as like, I mean, obviously at $1 million, you can kind of, there's wiggle room there, right? But they didn't want a loan and they wanted a certain thing, a certain product. I ended up putting them on a home. It took over a year to build anyway. And so it was funny I put them on a home that I knew was grossly under market value. They made it was probably almost $400,000 on that. So they turned their money into cash. We ended up selling that home, rolling it into another investment property. They literally cried at the table because they were like, we have friends that sold our home also at the same time, and they are priced out of the market, or they can't get back in. They can't qualify for a loan because they're retired. So they basically cried at the table because they're like, we just grew a few $100,000 by putting it somewhere. So the way you look at yourself, again, if you do not believe this, you come in, you talk to me. You are a problem solver. What is your job? You are a problem solver. You are somebody who helps people grow their wealth and make great life decisions. That is what I view my life as right now. That's what and then, like I said, the vehicle by which I do it is real estate most of the time, but it's also helping them with whatever problems they have, whether it's down to referring them to get their estates in order. You need to start making a list also right now and interviewing people. Right now, what I wish I would have done when I was a newer agent is interview people that you can recommend to someone else. So when somebody says to you, hey, my parents passed away, I need an attorney, you better have one that you can recommend that fast. And like I said, you are the problem solver, you are the connector, you are the person that's going to be in their life forever. Like I joke around with my clients and I'm like, well, sorry, you're just never rid of me, because that's like I view them as friends, as clients for life. And again, I want to be that problem solver for them. That's what I love doing. It's where I feel the most joy. So again, I'm going to flip through these kind of database ones that are actual database, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit, like these are just like, okay, using command. And like I said, Hunter probably needs to really do that. But I do want to talk about this slide real quick. My business is almost all exclusively repeat client and referral. I do almost no advertising. This year, I'm actually looking at doing that, and it scares the pants off me because my business right now, my projections for this next year is that my business is going to double what I did this last year, which is very scary because I'm probably on a path of doing over 1 million GCI this year, and which is a great problem to have, good problems. But again, if you are that problem solver, then you will get repeat clients. And the best clients I've ever worked with are not ones from sign calls that meet me off of a sign. It's people that already know me or have a little bit of trust in me. And that can grow. And so that's what I would recommend. Your best clients are the people you already know and already associate with. Or if they are not the ones that are buying, they know someone who is. And so what I love is I have certain clients that will call me that maybe they've lived in their house 30 years and I'm not going to do a business deal with them. But again, I have some of these VIP clients of mine that have actually not sold or purchased a home with me yet, but that they refer me because we have a established relationship of trust. So again, those are your easiest, lowest hanging fruit. What I think I got distracted about a year ago, I was looking at all these people going, oh, you know, their lead sources or what do they do for this? And I've never really purchased leads, but I started to kind of get in this mode where I started to look for the fruit. I call it the fruit at the top of the tree. I started to look at the fruit at the top of the tree and it got distracting for me. And then I also realized my lowest hanging fruit are the friendships and people I know and have already. And again, you have those, you don't have to be the annoying person. And the reason people get annoying, like when they go, oh, this person's bugging me about buying or selling or whatever, it's because that person has made them feel like it's about them, not about their own business and their money versus the other person. If the other person knows that you are there for them 100% for whatever that looks like, then they will trust you. And again, they will refer you. And I'm going to give you another few little tidbits of advice on this. So when I was a new agent, how I grew my sphere, I mean, I already had kind of a big sphere because I've also served on the State Board of Education. I've served in some other capacities to where I know a lot of people. But I wanted to, at first, I was like, how do I know who's interested in real estate? Right. And one of the first things I did is I do Facebook a little bit. I don't really post very often, but when I do, it's kind of there or whatever. I'm really bad at social, so don't ask me to do a class on social. But one of the things that I did is I looked at who liked my posts when I was posting, like who was watching me. And I would encourage you right now to go in, if you have social media accounts, you should go in and see who is liking your posts or commenting, because that person is sending you a signal that they want to be a part of your life, that they trust you, that you have a friendship, and that they are interested in what you're doing. So what I was actually surprised at certain people that were liking my posts. There were people on there that it wasn't like my best friend. It maybe were, exactly. One of them was someone I knew from 20 years ago. And he was liking a lot of my posts. And I had said, oh, I'm going to start doing real estate, or I'm doing this or whatever. And I didn't really even do very many real estate posts at the time. And I still don't. But I remember I reached out to him and I said, hey, I just messaged him through Facebook. So this is easy lead gen. I messaged him through Facebook and just said, and what I also did is I went to his profile and I liked some of his things. And I commented as well on like his family vacation. And I remember he had gone somewhere, and I remember I messaged him through Facebook and I said, hey, I know we haven't chatted in a long time. Your trip to Cancun looked amazing. I'm so happy. You and your kids look great. And how's life going for you? He messages back and said, hey, I remember you posted something about real estate. How's that going? I said, well, it's going great. And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I've actually thought about buying a vacation home in Utah. And I ended up selling him a vacation home. So just from those things, like I said, the reason I liked kind of looking at that list from Facebook is it showed who was actually interested in having a friendship with me, right? Obviously, there's other people too, but that was just an easy source, you know? So I would really highly recommend you do that. Go through your social and start commenting back on other people's things, and then reach out to them and just genuinely ask, how's life going? And just saying, hey, how you doing? Real estate comes up. It's not like it takes a long time. It's like it comes up naturally. And I never force the issue, because that's when people get uncomfortable and then they lock, kind of their trust up, right? But if people say, and I joke around and I'll even say, like, if they ask me, hey, how's the market, or whatever, I'm like, I can talk about this for hours. I'm like, what do you own? Hey, what do you need to, what do you need, or what are you looking to do? But I have these conversations with them about like passive income. One of the things I'm actually offering right now to some of my clients, and you may want to do this for your investor too, is I will say to them right now, the reason I'm writing up so much business is because I have offered to do a real estate portfolio analysis for them. And that's what I call it. I'll say it's a real estate portfolio analysis. So I'll say, for some of my clients that own more than one property, or even if they own just one, I'll just say, hey, do you want me to just kind of run current values for you? I'll do a CMA, a cloud CMA for them. And I'll say, or if I know they're looking to build, I'll call it a passive income or wealth building through real estate analysis. I'll say, do you want to do that? Now, there's nothing magical here. I don't have anything like so magical that I hand them, right? But who doesn't want to learn more about passive income through real estate? Everybody wants to know more about passive income. And I can sense from that phone call or that discussion I have with them, if they're going to buy in 0 to 3. So I break it down. I have my 0 to 3s, 3 to 6, and then like 6 to 12 or greater than 12 months. Like if I'm like, okay, they're way out, I still stay in touch with them, because where you lose, I actually went to a class with Gary Keller just recently, and he said where people are losing out is he said realtors right now are playing the short game. They're only looking at the 0 to 3s, and they're only paying attention to the hots, right? But he's like, what about those that are also paying attention to the 6 to 12 or the more than that are maybe buying in 2025?
I do think that's all of us, right? We're building a business.
That's why it takes
like
100%. That's why it takes time. But what I'm saying is, don't give up easily. And what you need to do is, one of the things that I think is interesting too is that I just had somebody say this to me 2 days ago. And they said, Heather, you're the only realtor that didn't care that I wasn't buying in the next 3 months. That it like, other realtors they had talked to were like, are you buying in the next 3 months? Let me show you stuff. And then if they weren't, they're like, okay, adios. Now, with that being said, you have to boundary your time, right? So I boundary my time, and I make sure that if they are buying, I stay in touch with them, and I'll say, hey, do you mind if I put you on, like, do you want some listing alerts, or do you want me? I actually ask them how they want me to communicate with them. And then I'll say, and what also is the thing that's holding you back from buying right now? That is the question you should be asking after you do the jump kick, like I'm doing the Tom Cruise jump on the couch, power kick of this is an amazing time to buy. What is it that's holding you back right now from buying? Because then you need to know, is it a mental thing? Is it something you can explain? Is it something you can give data on? Or is it legitimate? Well, I had a bankruptcy, or I'm self-employed and I need 6 months more, or I did summer sales. That's one that like they need like 2 years history of summer sales. You know what? I don't give up on those summer sales kids, man. I am like, go sell, you know? And my two boys did summer sales. And one of them's doing his third year this year. Anyway, so he now qualifies. So but that's the thing, is you need to know and be respectful of their timeline as well. But if it's a mental one for them, if it's something that they don't understand, I can resolve that fast. And I mean, and you should get them on a property. If it's something that's legitimate, like, hey, I need 2 years of documented history of making money, then you know what? I'm like, great. Okay, go kill it. Maybe they already had 1 year of summer sales. I'm like, hey, you've got this year. That means that you're going to be able to buy in October or September or whenever, right? So here's when I'm going to contact you. And I actually tell them right then, I'm like, you know what? We're going to stay in touch. You're never rid of me. So right now, I'm going to be in touch with you, and I'm going to shoot you a text just to find out how it's going. I'm going to text you over summer to find out at summer sales. I'll give you a rah. I'll throw you some granola bars or something if you come to my door. And but the thing is, you stay in touch, and then, like I said, guess who's going to be the one that they call? Do you think they're even going to look at another realtor? They're not even going to consider another realtor, because they knew that you cared up front. And they also knew that you had a plan. If you don't have a plan with each one of your buyers, it will fail. So I have a plan, an individual plan for each one of my buyers or each one of my sellers. And I'm like, and I give confidence in that. Here's what the plan is. Here are the next steps. Those are the things you need to be talking to them about. And like I said, it wouldn't even cross their minds to use another realtor, because they knew you were there for them instead of you being there for your paycheck, and being there because, like I said, this Gary Keller class I went to was super interesting. But he said the people that walk are the ones, like, where people have this fallout, are the 6 to 12, or the ones that are buying in 1 year. So right now, like, I'm already thinking of like some of my friends' kids that I know maybe are graduating from college, right? They're going to be buying a house probably in the fall. Make a list of those people and already start reaching out and just saying, hey, you know what? How's it going? I know you're graduating. Let me know what you need help with. And one of the other things I've started doing just this last year, I really had never done a lot with referrals, just because I just had my business, my own group. But I know a lot of people outside. Most of my family's outside of Utah. I don't have any family in Utah. My husband has no family in Utah. And we have a lot of friends and family in other places. And I have people that transfer for work. And I started thinking about last year, how much money am I also, and it's really not about the money, to be totally clear. I want my friends and family taken care of. I want to help pick that realtor, because I know how to interview realtors and know if they're a good realtor. And it's not about being a new realtor or not. It's also about if they are going to care about my client, number one, right? I will interview. So I just did that, actually. I have a client that's moving out here from Nashville. It's a good friend of, it's kind of a family friend. And I asked her, I said, would you like help with choosing a realtor, a good realtor in your area? And she was like, yes, please help us, because we don't know. I interviewed, you can look through your KW site. You can do all sorts of things on the back end, ask around in the office. I picked out 3 realtors and I interviewed them. And I told her the positives with all of them. I didn't really say any negatives, but I just said, here are kind of the things, and here's what they specialize. I found one that specialized in her area of Nashville and sells a lot of homes. Even when I called her, she said, I probably have 2 clients looking in that exact neighborhood. She already knew the neighborhood. And she's like, I already know that I'm going to have some people. So anyway, I'll also get a referral from that, which like I said, that's just money that comes in. And, but like I said, for me, it's not about the money. I also want to make sure my clients are being taken care of. and that my family or friends. So don't completely overlook that. I know it's kind of overwhelming, and I wouldn't say make that a priority, but just know that referrals, it's a real thing. And if you're going to family reunion, every year my family reunion ticket has paid for itself because I've been able to get one referral from an agent outside of Utah that's referred them to me. So I want you to really think about that. But because I went, met a few people, and they look at your badge and they go, Utah, I don't have anybody for Utah. And I'm like, here I am. I am here to serve. And right after family reunion last year, I got a referral from somebody just because of that, because of my name tag. And I was from Utah. And then we chatted, they connected me, and they bought an almost $1 million home. So, like I said, also seize those opportunities to grow. And that's why I love KW so much. Like when I came over to KW, I bought like $500 worth of swag within my first 2 months because I was like, I love it here. It's so great. But really, we have such great training. We have such amazing things you can tap into. And what I also love is the networking. I'm starting to, and like I said, I don't want you to get distracted with that, but just know that referrals are a real thing. Last year, I probably had 10 of my deals last year were either referrals out or referrals in. 10. This year, I actually picked up two referrals yesterday in one day. One of them's coming this weekend to buy a $1.5 million house. One of them is buying a $400,000 house. Totally opposite. But I love referrals. And one of my golden rule that I tell people is you always treat whatever client the exact same. My luxury clients versus my client that can only afford $375,000 house, they get the same treatment, the same amount of love, they get the same brain space from me. I treat them all like gold. And you should too, because you would be surprised at how many people in this industry do not do that. But like I said, I was going to say you probably have. So, but the reason I wanted to show you that, kind of this little thing. Oh, the opposite. Oh, well, and like I said, I would. Well, but here's what I want to say. I think the other thing I do really well, there are things I do really bad, right? Technology. That's established. But one of the things I also do really well is I love to connect with people and I love to make them feel like $1 million. And man, I'm going to get emotional telling the story just from this last week. But I have a single mom that can only afford a $375,000 home. And we are buying her a barely 3-bedroom, 1-bath house in Salt Lake on the west side. And she had talked to other realtors that would not give her the time of day. And like I said, she's a single mom, just recently divorced, working hard. It has been so fulfilling for me to be able to help her.
And it's only going to get better for her once she can get into that house.
100%.
A couple years later, she can leverage that and get into something bigger or better. Like you have to start
and
somewhere.
I have no doubt she's amazing, and her life is going to improve drastically. But even then, just by showing her that kindness and helping her, it has meant the world to her. And I have no doubt she will send and refer clients and friends. And that's a secondary thing. But for me, it has been a rewarding transaction for me to know how much this means to her, and that her 3 kids are now out of an apartment, a tiny little apartment, and they are now going to have a yard. We literally found them a house for $375,000. Try finding a $375,000 home with a yard in Salt Lake City. It's really hard, but we did it.
As you know, my parents were married by.
Yes.
And growing up, parents were divorced, and so me and my brother grew up with my mom as a like single mother because I was really close to my dad at that time. And like 2 years ago, we also lived in West Valley. We were super poor. We lived in a duplex that was 2-bedroom. Me and my brother shared a room and stuff. And my mom wanted to buy a home, and she only was ever qualified for a $200,000 home at that time. The agent didn't give her the time of the day, or like try to give her any, and like I'm gonna be emotional too.
Yeah.
Mm. She didn't get like the like help that she needed, and so she like gave up on trying to buy a home. And ever since she's like, no, it's not for me. It's not for me to buy a home. She doesn't know the
It will mentally crush people.
So that's why I started to real estate.
Oh, Lucas, you're making me cry. Oh, Lucas is amazing. I hope you all heard that story, but his yes, but he was just talking about his mom trying to buy a home, and these realtors wouldn't help. And the other thing, if they do not qualify, I will sit down with them and I will get them a plan to help them get out of debt. If they have debt, I will say, this is how you can get out of debt. This is how we're going to get you into a house. And it may not be the prettiest house. It may not be the most luxurious, but we're going to get you into something, and I will work so hard to get them into that. And so I love that. Thank you for sharing that. But just know those opportunities for me are probably even more rewarding. Like, people always ask me, how do you get into luxury? How do you do this? Because I do a lot of luxury. And those are fine. Those are great. And I love my clients. But I can tell you that my most rewarding clients are actually the single mom, where I have changed her life, where she said, my kids are going to be able to walk to school, because we got her a little tiny house. It is probably 1150 square feet. Okay. It's in an opportunity zone. So the other thing that was amazing, we ended up getting her even money towards closing costs from the bank, because it's in an opportunity zone. So they gave her $2,500 credit. Plus, I was able to negotiate some seller closing costs. And she's walking into this and she's like, what's the catch? When is there going to be some bad news? And like I said, sometimes you just have to put it into the universe, where I've had people priced out of the market, like older couples that have sold their homes, like I was just telling you about, and they have been priced out of the market. And I'm like, universe, help me help them. And I just truly believe I am going to be an instrument to help them in whatever way. And it may require them going into a rental for a small time. It may require some like creative thinking. But again, your job is to help people. And that is why I have returning clients and referrals. And like I said, people that are very loyal and they come back. And the reason is because I try to help whatever problems. I don't ever make them, any question they have, I never make them feel bad about their questions, because they'll say, I don't know about, this part of the market, or I don't know. You know what? I try to educate them. And again, I also try to find resources for them. And I would say, while you're a new agent, start making your resource books of people. So the resource book needs to be people, like subs. So like if there's a house that needs work, I have like usually a sub for almost everything, where I'll say, here's somebody that's really good at drywall and it's a good price. Here's somebody that's this. I have that, but then also resources as well, that maybe it's like, yeah, maybe they've got some other issues. Like, I mean, I've referred people even to counseling. Oh, that sounds crazy. But I'm like, here's some people, right? And so make yourself an expert and educate yourself. Now, don't get so analysis paralysis is what I call it, to where you're only like, you're not doing, there's a hybrid model, right? But educate yourself on what's going on. And one of the other things I did that I want to give you a hint on when we talk about growing your sphere is becoming an area expert where you live right now, because that's going to be your easiest place to buy and sell and help people. And the reason is because you already know your area. You already know the restaurants nearby, you know the schools nearby, like you just know like what's being built. And so here's a little hint of, because one of the things I've been able to also do is kind of take some of the political knowledge I have, like in different cities, for example, and translate that over. So one thing that people, I cannot stress this enough, is look at even your city council minutes or their agendas, because then you know what's happening in your city, right? So I know your county, I know all of them very well in there. Yes. Oh yes, we'll chat. But yes, and so one thing people, well, here's the thing.
You know what's going on.
You'll know what's going on. And if you post it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, see, I'm such a dinosaur, I don't even know. But there are times where I have taken, because the packet that they release for the planning commission is public. The packet that they release for city council is also public. That's all public info. You can take a slide from one of those PowerPoints and say, hey, did you know there's a new development that's being proposed just south of Mapleton? Did you know? And take a slide. Boom, there's your post for social media. But read through what is happening in your community. Volunteer to serve on a committee. I don't care if it's the tree planting committee, okay? Volunteer and say, hey, are there any committees that need help? You can just show up to your city office or your county and just say, hey, do you have any positions that, I can volunteer for and help with? Be on the trails committee. There's they usually are begging people to be on a trails committee. And it's fascinating. My first few clients actually came because I was involved in the conservation easement that's by Coral Canyon. Okay, super tons of brain damage. Okay, for free that I did, that I worked on. A lot of that's public service for you. A lot of brain damage, a lot of free stuff. So it goes basically from Suncrest area, kind of like Lehigh, over into Draper. And I worked with Draper, Highland, and Alpine on that. And it's actually one of the things that probably most people would never know I worked on and did, but I have a lot of, I feel really good about it because we preserved a lot of the trails that were up there that could have been developed. And it sounds funny because here I sell real estate, and I did actually have a few people and haters call me and say, you're a realtor, why are you working on a conservation easement? And I said, because it's what makes our community nice. Like if we don't have preserved trails, it's going to lower the values. Like if we just, it's problematic. So we have to still have nice things, people. Okay.
Home to home. It's sandy, right? Like there's not enough there.
Exactly. Think about it. There are certain communities that people do not want to live in because they didn't put in walkable sidewalks. They didn't do some infrastructure, right? And so they're having to go back and try to do that. But I worked on this conservation easement. And like I said, a lot of time, a lot of brain damage. And I remember several times looking at my husband and being like, why in the world am I seriously even helping on this? But I felt really strongly about it because it's what draws people to move here. And it makes our community nice. And so anyway, it was a over 2,000 acre conservation easement. And so I worked on that. Meanwhile, I'd gotten my license. I sold my home within 24 hours of getting my license. That's another story. But anyway, I was like, I have no idea what in the hell I'm doing. So I hope it works out. But anyway, because it was my own home, luckily. But what's interesting is that conservation easement went really close to my house in Highland, because it also kind of touches in Highland, Alpine, and Draper. And one of my first calls was my neighbor 2 doors down, and they are pretty experienced in real estate. My first real listing besides my own property was $1 million listing. And I was like, they called me up. They're like, hey, we're calling you. We want you to list our home because we know that you understand what's going on in this land in back of us. And you're the only realtor that we know that understands this. I got that listing because of that. I ended up selling their home, and it was a great experience. I got them kind of what they wanted with it. Man, I was kind of scared. And then around the corner, somebody else calls me because they're like, hey, we know that you just sold their home, and we also know you know about this conservation easement, and nobody else can answer the questions on it. So I had it in the bag for that neighborhood, and I started doing listings and buyers up there because of that conservation easement. And so now what's interesting, and I should do this, I'm taking my own advice because like I said, I don't do social media. This year, that is a goal, okay? Goal right here. I'm going to start posting because I do know what's happening on certain projects with the state Like, for example, one of my clients is one of the directors of the Point of the Mountain project, where they basically have leveled the old prison, and it's amazing. Yeah. And people are like, what's going in there? You know what? Start talking about it. Go look at the meeting minutes. Go look at some things. And that's, yeah. And you know what? And that's maybe a big project. Start with even something small in your neighborhood. Go to Highland, Mapleton, Vineyard, wherever you're at. Go look at the planning and zoning minutes and agendas, as well as the city council meeting minutes and agendas. And you're going to actually think it's kind of more interesting after you read it. Or if you go to a meeting, I'd really challenge all of you to go to a meeting. And then you'll probably meet somebody, because you'll be one of the only people that has a pulse in the room, in the audience. And they'll be like, who are you and why are you here? And you can just say, I'm a realtor. I want to be more involved in this community. And guess what? In about 2 seconds, they're going to say, hey, do you want to volunteer on our parks committee or on rodeo days or whatever? You end up getting to know a lot of people that way by just volunteering in your city. So like I said, start small, do your city stuff, and then make posts about it. Like, read it and say, what do you think of this? Do you know this is going in? 100%. That is, I think you missed it. We talked about that. And I said, the thing is, because I'm terrible. Well, I don't have it. I'm so bad. It's Heather Hawkins Groom. So it's Heather Hawkins and then Groom, like bride and groom. Groom.
Hawkins,
HAWKINS. Heather Hawkins Groom, like think bride and groom. And then, yeah, because I know the county clerks really well. So if you worked in that office, yes. But anyway, so, but yeah, and so I would just say, just
Jeff Bullock.
Yeah. So I served in LDS mission with him in Venezuela.
We were in the same.
Funny. See, it's a small world. It's a small world after all. So, okay, I probably should show you a few more slides, but these slides really are pretty basic. So that's why we're going through these. And I hope you've gleaned some things from this. So I'm going to take questions in just a second too. Who's your mom? Oh my gosh. I used to be neighbors. Are you Dawson?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Oh my gosh. Your dad helped me build a home, and I've referred him people.
No.
I knew you looked familiar. Oh my gosh. That is okay. Sorry for you on Zoom. But anyway, he used to be my neighbor. I remember when you were born. I actually came over and held you. And like, your parents are going to freak out. You tell them that you're sitting in a class with Heather Groom, and they're going to be like, what the crap? I even saw you in the airport like 2 or 3 years ago. We were both flying somewhere, and I was like, Digglebex, I love you. Anyway, I love your parents like so much. So, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, we got to chat. But okay, so yeah, these were kind of boring slides. Sorry, I probably should have told you a few more things on, but like I said, these were more of the technical ones, and I don't know how to get to the ones that are not as technical. So again, I hope that's really good information for you. I've got like a few minutes. We're going to end a little bit early because I've got a meeting, but I want to take your questions, and like I said, I really want to drill down to, I hope this just isn't a lot of fluff. Like, I want you to think about the takeaways from today. And maybe the three of you can just tell me really quick, what are some of your takeaways like today?
Well, so my thing about real estate is I never want to become a salesperson. I know you guys are like door knockers, but I'm never going to door knock. That's not what I'm interested in. That's not how I want to like grow my business. Like these guys have probably already heard it. Like, when they want you to like make a goal for the year, it's really hard for me because the money's not going to be the motivation. It's actually,
and that's fine. Yeah, like, absolutely.
So I feel like totally connected because like everything you say, it's like reasons why I'm doing it. It's not about like the next 6 months. It's not about getting
a certain amount of money. Yep.
$1,200 off of somebody. That's not what I'm doing this for. It's
right.
really like, first of all, to
help people.
Have something myself, but it's
good.
It is to help. It really
it's very fulfilling.
Learn and help people know the same things. Like
100%. I love that. No, I love that. And just know the other thing I want to make clear, there is no really right or wrong way to grow and to start your business. Like, I wish I could say, here is the way to start your business. It's already planned out. Go run with it. Like, what you need to do is find out what resonates with you. And if it's because door knocking is highly effective. I know some people, they crush it by just knocking doors. One of the largest real estate agents I know in the Bay Area in San Francisco, he's one of my friends. He started by knocking doors. He actually, this is a funny story. He was paid by a real estate team to just go knock doors for them. So he was paid hourly and he would get like a few $100s if that person converted. And then after a while, he said there was major drama on that team. And then he was giving them so many leads and they were converting and he was doing pretty well just knocking. But like I said, he was paid hourly with a little bonus. And then he was like, maybe I should start doing this myself. So then he started doing it. He is now just killing it. He's one of the top performers in the Bay Area. But anyway, so like door knocking, if you're doing that and if it is good for you, man, you can kill it. If you're just relationship based, if you're just like, I'm going to just meet with people, I'm going to talk to them, lend them a book. Like I've done that before too. Like, you know, if they have one like on being an investor or something, if there's somebody you know that wants to go into investing, I'll give them I call it the blue book. So we have the red book and the blue book at KW, but the blue book is being an investor. I will lend that copy out to somebody that wants to read it. And that's like, you know, or buy them a copy. It's $20. And then guess what? That just giving them that physically, they're going to come to you with their questions. If they're ready to be an investor in the next 0 to 3 years, they're going to remember, hey, she gave me that book. I'm going to talk to her about it. So like you can grow businesses. Just know, like I know people that just only do social media. I suck at it. And then, like I said, I'd like to be better, but I have friends that have started just social media. That's all they do. And that's how they get all of their leads. So just know there's no right or wrong. Find what's working for you. But the big thing that I want to stress to you is you better know your value proposition and you better really know what sets you apart from other people. And you better give value because the realtors that are not going to make it are the ones that, you know, they're like, well, we're going to walk through this house. I unlock the door and they're like, gee, that's a nice color paint. Like, that's not a value. That there's no value in that. You know, they can do that. They can see it on Zillow. They can see it on wherever they're at. Okay, Lucas, what's your takeaway?
Value on showing people the benefits of why it's good to like right now it's a good moment to buy or like doing that to see the benefits of it. So a lot of people like get stuck on the negatives part of it and not seeing what in the long run what's gonna be the benefit for it. So like showing them okay, even if you're like paying $1,000 more for 6 months, in the long run you're actually gonna make more than that if you're buying right now than if you're buying in 6 months from now. So
I love that.
your value like, helps a lot. So,
yeah, and make that just realize a lot of people they maybe understand a lot of things that are happening in the market, but you have the key to that final 20% that they need, right? Which is that last little bit, which is connecting the dots of saying that $6,000 is nothing or versus the 30,000 more you're going to pay in 6 months, you know? So I love that. So that's great. Dawson?
I would just say being converted to the market, because we talked a lot about just like interest rates should not kind of like lead. What did I put? I said interest rates are something to look at, but not to make or break it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Interest rate's a factor. It's a factor. It's a variable, but it should never make or break.
Know exactly what to tell your customers.
100%.
What's happening and give them that trust in you that you're an expert in the market and you can lay it out for them.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It comes down to a lot about your trust and confidence in the market because guess what? People sense within I'm going to give you a few little assignments if you want them. I really like reading this book. It's by one of the Coveys and it's called The Speed of Trust. And I highly recommend reading that because they talk about how people make judgments in anywhere from 2 seconds to like 12 seconds. And not to say that they're always accurate, right? But a lot of it is the confidence that they feel coming from you. and they're going to know if you're confident in the market or not. And so, like, even when I was an agent, like a newer agent, one of the things that made me nervous were like home inspections, because I was like, somebody's calling me to negotiate and they want $3,000 for this, and I'm trying to help my client and not give them 3,000. And so what I did ahead of time is I started writing down almost like a script, right? And I would, before I made the phone call to have, whether it was inspection or appraisal or whatever, but I'll just give you an inspection right now. I would make the points ahead of time. Be organized in your thoughts of what you're conveying, because then it gives confidence. Because a lot of times, and I've actually had experienced agents call me and they're all over the place and they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, what do you want? What is it your client is looking for? Like, you've got to be able to articulate it, and you've got to be confident in your position. If you're asking for money, if you're not asking for money, like for repairs or in whatever it is, right? And so a lot of it is the trust factor, and as well, and Susie actually mentioned it yesterday. I came for part of it. You know, you really need to, what was I going to say about that? The trust, confidence, piece, make it a win-win. I was going to say the one thing, I'm also going to give you another little piece of advice. When I was a new agent, I didn't realize how important it was to know other agents. Because when I was a new agent, I was at this flat fee brokerage, I was in my own little silo. And I just thought, why is it other agents get to know other agents? Like, I just thought that was kind of strange, because I'm like, oh, I've got my clients over here. I've had a complete 180 on that. And the reason that it's important for you to know other agents is because I have people that may want to buy your listing. I have people that eventually, first of all, we may work together. And so you never really want to have a bad relationship with any realtor. And if there's something going wrong on a transaction, I would humbly ask them, because I've had like maybe, I really haven't had very many, but I've had a few where maybe there was a little bit of like heat, right? And I would actually just say, look, I know we both are wanting to represent our clients. Let's do that. And let's do this professionally. Let's just talk about wants and needs. Like, what are the things? Let's see what we can do. Another thing I think I probably do pretty well on too is I have rarely had a cancellation ever. Like, I have probably only had two clients cancel ever. And it was because of like a job situation changing. Like, it was a drastic thing. It wasn't, oh, because I'm not comfortable with buying this house. Because I really try to make sure I don't talk them into buying a house.
Okay, but you want to find out what the issues
are. Exactly. So I find out what their issues are. And I don't have them make an offer on a house that they're only at 70% on. Like, they've got to be 100%. Like, they got to be like, we're so excited about this house, And like I said, and sometimes they need help getting there, right? And that's my job, is to kind of help with the trust, or maybe it's the interest rate factor, whatever it is. But what you also need to realize, and there are some perpetual lookers. So I want to kind of go over that just a little bit too. Like I was saying, you want to boundary your time a little bit too, because if somebody's just wanting to hang out with you and go see homes every weekend and they're not really going to pull the switch, you really can't spend a lot of time there. But you can tell them that you care all day long, and you can show them you care by saying, okay, it sounds like, if, like I said, I don't give up easily. That's probably a bad trait and a good trait, but I don't really give up, because a lot of times people just need that confidence, right? And, but I would just say, don't give up on people, but understand their timeline. And a lot of times their timeline, I love this. Even yesterday, he was a perfect example. He's this new one I picked up. He's like a 425 buyer. And he's like, but we're living in my parents' basement. We have all the time in the world, so we may not buy till fall. And I'm like, what is holding you back right now? He's like, well, interest rates, and then we can save up maybe another $5,000. And that's when, like I said, I kind of went through the math with him. By the end of the conversation, do you think he's really going to wait till fall to buy? No. And I told him, I said, I want what's best for you. And if you wait, I said, I will respect that. I will respect whatever decision because ultimately this is your decision. But if you're asking me as an expert in real estate, I'd be buying right now. I'm telling my kids to buy right now. I'm telling my friends to buy right now. I'm telling my investor clients to buy right now. And if you don't, if you're not comfortable, I can respect that, and that's okay. I'd still love to work with you in the fall. So I make it clear, but I also make it clear that I'm going to give you the best information and knowledge up front, and then you are the one that makes that decision. And then you get to choose, because I have had another story. I had a client who I could see the market surging in St. George. This was like a year and a half, 2 years ago, probably when we were at multiple offer. I said, if you do not get on this contract, you will pay $50,000 more. It was a new build. And I said, you will pay $50,000 more for this in 6 months, because I already could see things happening. He ended up not doing it. And I looked at it, I gave him all the data in the world, and he's like, no, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I said, okay, Mark, love you to pieces. We're going to stay in touch. So I still stayed in touch. I sent him like a weekly update. He ended up buying the house. He ended up signing on one 6 months later. It was in the same exact development. Guess how much he paid more? 50 grand. And he was like having major heartburn. And I said, Mark, do you want to pay another $50,000 more? Or and he finally was like, you know what? You're right. And it was when building costs were kind of going up. It was like COVID time. I said, I can tell you what I'm seeing, and I can only give you the data, but ultimately this is your decision. So in the end, he paid almost 50 grand more, but he has 200,000 now in equity. He would have had $250,000 in equity if he would have purchased 6 months earlier, like we had originally done. But I didn't give up on him. And so the reason I want to tell you that is because I did not give up on him still. And I respected his decision, but I made it very clear, you're probably going to pay more for this. And that's okay. That's what you want to do. I'm still your realtor through the whole thing. Like, you're not getting rid of me. So this is what we're doing. So anyway, I hope that's been helpful today. And again, I hope, like I said, I'm not the technical person. When they asked me to sub in this class, I said, I'm not going to be giving them technical information on database stuff because I'm terrible at it. But
everybody has their strengths.
Yes, and it's something I'm working on. But I am very good with people, and I'm very good at growing my sphere and growing my business that way. And people will call me because they want expert knowledge. They want to feel confident. The reason they call you too is they want confidence and they want trust. So again, my books, I would say Speed of Trust. I just want you to read because it just explains how you need to make an impression quickly and gain trust with people. The other big thing I would say is also get involved in your communities. Like I said, that is the lowest hanging fruit right now is, even just getting to know that area, it becomes, and it's free. The other great thing, you're not, like I said, all these people that get into real estate and they're like, I need to buy leads. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't. I don't even care. If you go to the grocery store, I found people literally, this is crazy. I have had 2 or 3 clients from a hot tub at hotels. I picked up a client in a Kauai hot tub. It's not for because I'm 50 years old. Okay, so it's not for any crazy reason. But I'm just saying, I was in a hot tub. We started talking about real estate. He's from Utah, and he's like, it was like fall break. I got my whole fall break trip paid for, by the way, to Kauai because of that deal. But he's like, I'm thinking about buying this investment property, blah, blah, blah. We talk. Anyway, next thing I know, and I now have like a long going thing, and I'm going to be involved in his project. He's building a development in Moab. And so it led to a whole big thing. That's from a hot tub. Okay. Like I said, I've met people at grocery stores, but the majority of my people are people I first of all know, or we have somebody in common. And so focus on that. And like I said, don't get distracted with the fruit at the top of the tree or paid leads or any of that garbage. I want you to really focus on knowing the market, becoming an expert so that you can then convey those things to others. And if you need a partner, like I said, Angie's amazing. I mean, you've got a great system here where you've got the mentorship and they will help you land those clients. So move that forward, and you're going to see your business. Like I said, the other thing is just know you're in it for the long game. So give yourself some grace. Don't make yourself all of these crazy goals for the first year, right? And know that it takes about 1 to 3 years to really have a solid business. But if you would have told me, and I probably am getting emotional right now, what I'm probably going to make this year is insane money. And it's not even something I'd ever in my wildest dreams imagined that I would do. Not ever in my life. But helping people pays back tenfold. And I don't care if it's a $200,000 transaction, $2 million transaction. Helping people always pays back, and it pays back in huge dividends. Huge. And like I said, you'll have, it's funny, my kids are like, Mom, what's the end goal for you? Like when do you quit real estate? And I'm like, I don't know if I ever will, because honestly, I do believe I'm in the business of helping people. And I love it. It honestly fills me with joy. And that's why you're here too. So remember that. And all of the real estate part is the vehicle you're driving to help people, you know, but you have those opportunities to really help and change people's lives. And when I've been able to see people grow their wealth exponentially, people that never would have been able to afford a house, and they're in a house, there's nothing greater, in my opinion, because I know that those kids are going to have a great life, like living right near the school now. They can walk to their school. I mean, just and having a yard and just knowing that. I mean, there's nothing greater. I honestly believe that we are in the greatest profession ever. I mean, I just, like I said, I'm that Tom Cruise jumping on the couch with Oprah moment. Like, and that's what I tell people about the market. There are pros and cons in every market. So it's like, don't get hung up on all the little things. Get people in homes. Home ownership is something that the rest of the world, a lot of people in the world can never understand. They will never have that. There is something so freeing and beautiful about home ownership. And it's an amazing opportunity. Like you're blessing people's lives and you're helping them grow their wealth and their security, their ability to just have their own little piece of, of heaven, And so it's such a great opportunity. So just know you're all in it, and I'm super proud of you. So yes.
So I just have one more question. So like, since I'm doing door knocking, because my
Yes.
aspire is for the younger kids, so I'm still working for them for the future in the long run. But so my door knocking are more for like sellers. And so what are like
Amazing
scripts you saying to sellers? I know like the buyers you're saying that script, but like for the seller, what would you say? Like
for like if I were doing door knocking for like selling, I would probably just say, "Hey, I'm very familiar with this neighborhood. I'm I've I do real estate. Are you interested in a free market analysis?" And just say there's no hitch. Just say I'm here to help people. I mean, that's the thing. Use that line. Just say I'm here to help people understand what their value is of their home, and just say, have you thought about moving? Are you renting? The first thing I'd probably ask also, one of the first questions is find out if they're renting. Do they rent it? Because you're probably in an area where there's high amount of people that are renting. To say, do you know there's programs to help people get into homes right now? I have connections. Just say it's not. I'm out here. I'm talking to people about how to get into home ownership.
well, I'm talking about
Yeah,
so I have like 4 CMA appointments now.
totally. Yeah, that's great. Like,
I just
totally.
it's the right moment to sell right now. Like
100%. It's always the right time to sell and buy. But like right now, especially, I would 100% get that home on the market. If they're like, hey, just say, how fast can you be ready? Because right now the market is surging. I would say, as like some of the data that I would give them is I would say the market is picking up. We already know the Fed's announced they're going to be lowering interest rates. They've announced this that at least twice for this year. People that have been on the sidelines for the last year and a half are getting back in. There's investors coming back in. The best thing to do is right now sell, and let's get you on something great and something that you love.
Those statistics about like how long a house sits on the market right now, how that's going down. So that means
Exactly.
there's less inventory in the market and there is buyers.
I just would tell them too, we're having an early spring because that's what I've told people. I said, look, the calendar has changed. Like it used to be that people would wait till like March or April to put their homes for sale. Some of my biggest months are actually February. Like February is a huge month for me. Like even right now, I'm going to have a huge January. And I would just say, right now, your timing couldn't be better because you can sell. You've got buyers out looking. You've got more buyers than have been out looking for the last year. They're now coming into the market. Let's find you something to get on and let's secure that up because by summer, that's going to be really hard to find. And I would just find out what are they looking for? Like you don't even really like selling is like a natural step in the process. I would just find out what are their goals. Like I would say, do you own this or do you rent this? Are you interested in staying in this area? I'd ask if they're interested in staying in this area and say, do you like this area? Because some people will say, no, I don't want to be in this area. I really want to be in Vineyard or whatever. Find out what area are you in? Ask questions and then say, because I'm out here helping people list their homes and running free market reports. I can show you what things have sold in here for. And let's get your home listed quick, but let's find you something. And what I always like to do is kind of lock up, like maybe put them on a new build because then you get them locked in, you sell their home, you can time it just right,
So you need a bigger down payment, right?
No, that's what people don't realize.
Don't.
A lot of times people don't realize
like, you need 20%.
No, in fact, most of the time, what people don't realize, the reason I do a lot of new construction, especially like if they're spec'd already a little bit, is because, yeah, even like with Ivory or some of these bigger builders, you can do VA loans, you can do FHA. Like people think, oh, you have to come in with conventional. You don't. There's actually like so many different programs out there. And so you can come in with an FHA on a new build. So like most of my clients, if I'm putting them on something, like this just happened even this last week, they were like, what's the catch? I'm like, yeah, there's none. Like they don't, the builder actually paid money. They paid all their closing costs. So, and they bought down their rate. So they gave them a credit, bought down their rate. They're getting a rate of like, I think barely 6%. So they're now, actually, no, it's even lower than that. It's probably 5.75. They're getting the rate of probably 5.75. They contributed, paid for all their closing costs. And so now the little bit of money they have, they're able to put down and they're going to be closing and they get this new home. So they're like, what? Yes. And so they're making this huge jump. But that's what I would probably say to people right now. But those are the key things and find out what is it they like? What is it they want different? Like, what are they looking for? And a lot of times it's about expectations. Like if somebody calls me and they're like, I have a hard buyer, I'm like, it's probably because you haven't helped them with their expectations. You need to just say, here's what the market is. So you're not the bad guy, right? I say, this is what the market looks like right now. This is what you can expect to buy. Okay, you have 375,000. Trust me, I was sweating bullets for this single mom thinking, how am I going to find a single family home for 375 with a yard and close enough to a certain school because she wanted to be in a certain boundary. I was like, oh man. I was like, please, universe, provide here. And we found it. What's crazy in her situation too, she got money from Chase Bank because it was in an opportunity zone. So they even gave her more money for closing costs. She's now has more money because we got the seller to pay the rest of her closing costs. And so now we actually have money towards the purchase. We actually don't even know what to do. We're actually going to pay her taxes early for the whole year because we have extra money that we don't know what to do with. And so she's going to have a little extra money to renovate some of her house because of that. So, like I said, just seeing those kind of things, and you get to be a part of that. So anyway, well, thanks, class. I'm so glad to see all of you and meet you. And anyway, thanks so much. I don't know how to end this, but I know it's. Oh, hi, Ritz. Okay, Ritz, you can end it. Hey, thank you so much. I hope to meet all of you. Like Stacy, thanks for being on.